On the evening of September 9th, 1988, a fire completely destroyed the cast iron barn here at the Ridgeview Farm on the Ridge Road in Champlain. And now a year and 3 days later, after almost non-stop efforts, the cast iron family will finally be moving their cows into their new facilities. The workmen are putting the finishing touches on the barn. And we are about to take a walk inside to see as it looks before a cattle move in. There'll be a little narration for the next few minutes. We will explain a little bit about what we're seeing here. This is the area that the people feeding the stock will go down. This is the manger that will feed the stock on this side. Freestall barn, what this is called. They will eat here. They will be able to bed down for the night here, but they are free to come and go. There's Harold Castine, one of the brothers here. John, he's known as. As we see Arthur going down with one of the workmen, and he is followed by Billy, another one of the Castine. Arthur and Billy, members of the Castine family. There are 5 brothers and a sister. Sister is Carol Castine, who runs the household here. Living at this household are Jack, who is known as Curly, and Arthur, who has also been known as Danny. Harold, who is called John, lives down the road a ways. He's here. Ken is the manager. He lives on Church Street in Champlain. Billy lives up next to the Minor Farm Road, a few miles from here. And there's Jack Curly down there. Curly Castine on the left. We have moved to the other side, and this is, as you can see, the same as what we saw on the other side. Identical. Both sides identical. And this is Bob Tatro, a longtime employee here at the Castine Farm. They're working on the feed chute. This feed chute will come down the center on both sides. We are facing east at the moment, so this runs south to north as you're looking at it, left to right. We're adjacent to one of the large harvester blue silos that you'll see if you approach the Castine Farm. I believe there are 8 of those here. And here's some of the feed coming out. This is the chute. It takes it up and onto the conveyor to bring it across to the cattle. We have now moved down to the other end next to the milking parlor, and we wanted to get a few shots here before the cattle are moved in, because this is the last time that this place will look quite as clean as it is now. The Castine brothers have long had a reputation for running a clean operation, but there's only so much you can do as far as keeping cleanliness when you have several hundred animals roaming free. Well, this is the northwest corner, and immediately behind us is the milking parlor. The cattle will move up here. And there are 2 rows here. We'll take a look now in the pit where the milking will take place. We'll be giving a tour with Bob Venne of this entire operation, but we wanted to get these shots before the cattle moved in. We are now in what is known as the pit. This is the area between the cattle. The cattle will go here on our right and also on our left. They will go face first toward the windows, and the milkers are here. So the back part of the cattle will be here. The milk will go through the pipe. You see the plastic pipe here, and follow the pipeline into the milk tank. There are 24 milkers here, and with this type of operation, 2 or 3 men, and if it came down to it, even 1 man, but he obviously couldn't move as fast as 2 or 3 can. 2 or 3 men will be able to handle the milking from this pit area in the milk parlor. And again, we have workmen putting the finishing touches on the milk tank. And you can see the size of the tank compared to the men working alongside of it. Milk tank, I believe, was brought in here today on September 12th. This is the milk house. And the milk will come directly down the pipeline into the bulk tank that you see in front of you. We're now on the east side of the milking parlor. And there is a path here where someone or whoever can walk down to the left side without disturbing what is going on here in the milk parlor. So there is an aisle here. And the last time we were here with Bob Venne, this was open back here. They have since put up a calf barn, I believe it is. We'll check on that. But I believe this is a calf barn here in back of the main cattle barn. And again, we'll get into it as we progress in this videotaping, but I believe there is still another barn yet to go up. We are now back in the center portion of the barn at the north end. Immediately below us, you see the holes in the floor, the slots in the floor. This is a manure pit. And as our tour progresses, we'll have an explanation of the function of this manure pit. Off to our left, we see the bases of a couple of more silos, and through the door we see the calf barn that we just saw out through the milking parlor, and there is an entry through here. The milking parlor is on our left, and we are facing north at the moment. We've now moved into the calf barn, where Harold or John is brought us into. We have the first 10 occupants, 10 young calves down at the end. The young newborns will come here. We count 66 stalls here in front of us, 66 pens. And back here where I am standing at the moment, I believe there will be more back here. And over on our left, as they get a little older, they'll move into that free stall area. We'll go down and take a look at the 10 of them down there. These are the first 10 occupants. And as you can see, there are pails in front to feed them. Liquid and probably a little bit of solid as they progress in age. And in back of them there is a gutter. They will be scraped down and all the waste will be drawn out to the pit. There's a pipeline from the pit that pumps it into the receptacle out in back, a big blue receptacle. We're now facing east, and this is the path that the waste will take, and there is the pump which will pump it out into the back, into the blue container back there. This is the area next to the milk house where all the pumps and motors and main entry and everything is located. Again, as we go through our tour, we'll be getting into this a little bit deeper as to what everything in here does. There's another view of the calf barn that we saw earlier. And there will be a heifer barn, according to John, built in the not too distant future, where the older, larger heifers will be stored. The cows are starting to move up. Looks like they are anxious to get in here as it approaches milking time. They haven't spent too many days outside. Some of these probably outside for the first time. This contraption here will urge the cattle into the milking parlor. It'll kind of come behind them and push them in.
Jack, come here!
And again, this will be the last time that this floor in here will be unsoiled. Down at the far end, you may be able to catch a hint of red in the center aisle. That's the cleaner. It's poised to come this way. We see another of the manure pullers over there, and here's another one. This is how it will go down in this V formation down to the end, and then spread out and pull the waste in this direction into the pit that is under us here. While we're waiting for the cattle to be brought in, we'll take another look outside. This is the south side of the barn. And we have 5 skyscrapers here in front of us. Towering into the clouds. And we're facing east at this point. And we'll now give a view facing north. And trust me, once this operation has been settled down, you will not see these weeds in front of this place. They always do an excellent job of keeping their property looking its best. Even though with hundreds of cattle there's enough work to do, they always find time to make sure that the place looks neat. And this is again is a view from the south facing north, probably northeast a little bit. I have a vehicle coming toward me, so I'm going to step out of the road. We have now moved to get a view from the north, facing south. There's the main barn with the milk house there with the tank sticking out in the end. Off to the left, we see the calf barn. And in back of there, we can get a little view now of the manure tank. You see the size of the truck, you see the size of the tank. That's where the manure will be stored and spread. And if you're lucky and the wind is blowing just right, you are definitely able to tell when that is being spread. And before we get run over, we're going to head back into the barn and see how they're progressing with the cattle. The cattle have been moved back, ready to move into their new barn. And no artificial breeding here on the cast iron farm. This is a bull down here. I have several quality bulls moving along with the herd. And it's now 3:09. Workmen are still puttering away in back of us. And the die is cast. They have to be in here today. The milk tank has been moved. And whether it's very shortly or a few hours later, the cattle will have to be moved into the area immediately in back of us. We'll turn around, swing our camera now to show you where we are shooting this from. We are in one of the stalls, the free stalls here. This is free stalls because there are no stanchions. There's a place for the cattle to come and separated. You want the animals to have a place to get up out of the area where most of their waste will be. You see the wide gutter area between the stalls. You want a place where each individual cow can lay down, that when they're together there's a lot of danger of stepping on each other's udders. So when they lay down, you want them to be in these free stalls. They have been working on the feed conveyor. It looks like it's set to go, and the main problem now seems to be getting the finishing touches on the conveyor for the manure cleaner. And of course, it's a lot easier to get that done and to work with it before you have several hundred cows standing in the area. So that's what the present holdup is, and as we are taping this, it should be very shortly that they will be moving the cattle in here. As we said at the start, it's been almost non-stop. Not counting Sundays, there have been very, very few days when someone, or more often a bunch of someone, several people have been in here working. And it's been a year and 3 days coming. This is what will be used for bedding. There'll be sawdust, and they'll probably go through a couple of trees a day to bed all these these cows. And no straw for bedding. For weeks on end, non-stop, loads and loads of fill were brought in here as they built all around the barns, built up the area all around the barn. And then when the cement was starting to be poured, it was weeks and weeks again with non-stop. Day by every day, trucks after truck came with cement for the inside. This is not your average dairy operation by any means. As we look down the center of the barn, it's probably worth pointing out that immediately above us, the very top of the roof is wide open. For the animals in here, this place will generate a lot of heat. The final litter from a year's worth of work is being loaded up. And for a few minutes at least, this place will be sparkling. And again, it'll be a lot cleaner than, even with all the animals in here, it'll be a lot cleaner than 99% of the farms in the area. There's only so much you can do. The cows will come from that direction and hopefully be twisted and turned into this direction. There is an occasional gap in this barricade, and it's not out of the question that a cow or two would jump off to the side, and there is a big drop down there as we saw a little bit earlier. There's a good 5-foot drop off in there, similar to what we have right here. Well, the cows will come up here, and there's not a lot of turning room here, so moving the cattle into the barn could prove to be an adventure. They have to turn and come in this direction, and we're talking, I would guess, over 300 head heading in this direction, where they will be spread out, some going to the right, some going to the left. We will try to shoot from right there with the sawdust spreader. Another danger area is right here, where we were standing just a moment ago. There's quite a drop there. Beyond the fill, there's a straight drop where the cement abutment is. So if they come in there and they get pushed aside, it's possible that one of them could fall down there.
Look out for the bolt.
At 4:13 p.m., 368 days after being driven from the barn by the fire, the cattle are finally making their way into their new barn. We will leave this spot and, as I said, take up residence inside by the bedder. And as we said, this is the area that we are personally a little concerned about. Straight down here, about a 7 or 8 foot drop. Once they're in here and settled, they'll be broken up into different groups. The fresh cows we recently calved, the dry cows that are waiting to calve, and so on. They'll be broken up that way. But for now, they'll go about half and half on each side here, I believe. So much for that barricade. My And I'll have one less barricade between us and 1,200 hooves. Try to send the next half to this side. This side is a very tough turn here. I think it'd be better to put them all on one side, let them get in here, and then attempt to turn them. Once one starts, it's usually not that difficult to get the others going, but the problem here is some of them have headed out the other way. The ones who are in here race down to the other end, and there'll be a few days, a week or two before they get acclimated, and their milk production will drop for a while. And now we're ready for the second wave. We'll back up so as not to distract them. See the bull heading in. One of the problems that happens is they'll bunch up, and the ones at that end are trying to come this way, and the ones at this end are trying to go the other way. And that's what this gentleman here is trying to do, is move them down a ways to make some room. And that appears to be the big problem at the moment, is the bottleneck that's been created here, a little traffic jam, if you will. They're hoping to lower a few into this side, but instead they have an escapee trying to make a break for it. Curly surveying the situation. Arthur in the background. People flying from above here, trying to get them moving. You've been counting along at home to keep track of how many are here. And if you don't know how to count cattle, you count the feet and then divide by 4. Not a red one in the bunch, all Holsteins. And the final ones will make their way in here at 4:29. And a new era has begun here at the Ridgeview Farm. And for those of you who lost count or were distracted, we'll tell you there were 275 head brought in today. And before we say goodbye to this segment of the September 12th, we'll take a quick, very brief look around. This is a couple hours after the cattle were in. Their first milking here in the new barn. And as we said, we'll be back with Bob Venne to do a tour once things get a little settled down here, once the cows and the Castine brothers and their help are used to the situation here. It's all brand new, not only for the animals but also for the people. They're used to a milking parlor, but this is a new system and a new setup. See the animals way off in the background. And milking proceeding here on the September 12th down in the pit.
We'll smell that. Oh, that's free. That ain't been ordered. See the trees we put, Bob?
Well, you're looking at the front of the Ridgeview Farm, the new barn. It's all complete now. The trees have been planted. The grass is growing. This is Bob Venne, coming out of retirement, as Ken said. We're here dressed for the occasion, and he wants to give me a job.
Right.
Thank you very much for inviting us back again, Ken. We're going to see some milking tonight. We're going to see the completion of the calf barn. We're going to go out and look at the big barn for equipment and hay in the back, and we're going to look at the milking parlor and give you a last little tour here, right? We were here about a year ago, last April, the first time. Then Calvin was here to watch your cows come in September, in the 12th of September, 1989. How are things working out?
Working out pretty good, Bob.
You find any problems?
So far, not that much, not that bad.
The only thing you did mention to me was that the floor in the barn, if you could do it over again, you would have sloped it a little bit so any water from the cows would have run down naturally.
Yeah,
you did mention that?
Been a little small slope though.
Okay.
Some kind.
You know, I stopped here yesterday and I thought I was going into the Howard Johnson's or the Holiday Inn here. If you look at those nice brass hangings in front of the doors and two doors, isn't that something else? You go inside and you feel like you're in there too. Not only with the nice surroundings, but the nice cordial reception I got from Art last night and his hired hand, and they're watching him milk the cows. And we're going to go inside and see the cows at this time.
Yep.
We're in the milk room now. This is the big surge milk tank where all the milk is piped in from the milking parlor. It holds 3,000 gallons, and Ken said they fill this every day. It's emptied every day. It'll hold both milkings, right?
Yep.
It'll hold both milkings. It wasn't here when we were here last April. We saw it in the other milk room. Yeah, you'll see there's a milk transfer tank, and we see in all of the chrome pipes. And again, this is the pump bringing the milk in down to my left.
Transfer station.
That's the transfer station for the milk to bring it into here, right?
They pump it in here, it goes into the tank.
It comes into here, then it goes in here. Right?
It's being cool at the same time.
Say that again?
It's being cool at the same time.
Okay, so you pre-cool it, right?
Pre-cool it before it hits the tank.
Okay. And that's that Germania we talked about here a year ago.
Yeah.
And that's that Germania Dairy Automation Incorporated. That's where the milking parlor is from.
Right.
And we'll just give you a quick idea here of what you have different. You see, they don't just drink milk here, folks. They drink milk for it, but they get this to cool off, see? And in here, if you look in here, we have a table. This is the table where they can come in and take a break. They got a refrigerator here with soft drink. They got a little storage cabinet. They got a stereo down here. I mean, when it's not comfortable in the house, they come out into their milk room.
Right, they stay right in there.
They stay right in here.
Just lacking a TV now.
I want to buy a TV.
Put a television in there.
Okay, now this room here. This has all, we didn't see these before, but that's your
compressors.
Those are your compressors, and this is all your tubes for the air for the milk machine. And I don't, what's the blue thing, Ken?
There's a hot water heater.
That's, okay, hot water heater in the back.
All the electrical.
Okay, electrical panels in the back.
That's all your soap and disinfectants and stuff.
Okay, now if you look out the back, we can see the calf barn that was not there before when we first looked in this building, and we'll get out there eventually. Now, what is this over here in the corner? Is that part of the vacuum system?
Compressor that cools the milk.
That's the compressor for that we saw that pre-cools it. One just went on, and we're going to leave this position. Well, there's three of us here. There's two of us dressed to go to work, and our third person is
George Vaughn. I come from New York City, Brooklyn. I'm visiting my cousin Ken.
Oh, I thought you were trying to get a job here.
Not yet.
No.
Not yet.
Where are you from? New York City?
New York City.
What do you do for a living?
I work in computers for the stock market.
And you're a cousin, you say?
Yes.
Okay. You're in the computers at the stock market?
I'm on a 2-week vacation. So I come to the country to get a week's vacation.
Have you been through the barn before?
Yes.
Oh, you have been through there before, huh? Hey, we had a little break here earlier. Billy's daughter came through with a nice ice cream bar I had while we were waiting for Calvin to arrive. Calvin didn't get one, but we got one here. Huh?
Calvin,
And they're all gone.
He was too late, right? Now, you'll notice that we are good drinkers of milk. If this is not an ad for milk you're seeing here, these big people.
We're looking at a
That's-
milk ad.
Yeah, but that's not a milk ad, right? No, no. That's drinking a lot of that Pepsi, see? Milk you keep good and trim. We're going to go inside to the milking parlor. We're on the west side of the barn. You can see there are 12 of the bovines lined up here, the 12 cows lined up being milked at this particular time. They've got nothing to do while they're being milked except chew their cud. In the old milking parlor, they did have a feed trough, and they used to give them their grain while they were milking. Now they found out that there'd be less dirt, and it's working very well without feeding them, and they're in a hurry to give their milk quicker so they can get out and get to the other station to get their grain afterward. Ken just said, I don't know if you heard from there, but he said they're a lot quieter, and you see, they used to take their time. They wanted to finish their grain before the milk was finished. Now they've taken care of that. The white pipes you see above the cows are the air pipes, the vacuum pipes. The milk lines you'll see inside when we get inside. Just while we're at this point, you see this gate will open here, and then when they're finished milking, all 12 are finished, they will open this gate, which is run by compression. There's no electricity here. This is all the air. And then the cow will come here and go down as far as the far gate, then turn right and leave the milking parlor area. So there's 12 on this side and there's 12 on the other side, and those 12 will also leave and go the same way. This is a walkway where I was standing before, the cleanest of them, because nothing comes in here except the humans who walk up and down. Okay, so now this is a milking parlor. Those cows are making the money for the castines.
That's where your money's being made, Bob.
That's the money they're making right here, so they could buy me some more ice cream if I ever come again.
That's where the gravy is.
That's where the gravy is. Okay, Ken will come down and we'll show you what goes on. Maybe Ken could explain this better than I can. Here, I'll show you.
How they go on and over? That's for the water.
Okay, this will wash the milk when they're finished tonight.
Turn this upside down, see?
This will go upside down, as he says, and this will fit into here, and then a solution will clean all the milking and take it out.
There's your automatic sterilizer.
Okay, we'll see that here. After the cows are milked, we're kind of going in the wrong direction. We'll see that when they get another group here. They're getting this group is getting ready to go out. They just opened the gate automatically. They pushed a button on the far end. They pushed a button at the far end, and now they will help to persuade the cows to go out. And then they'll let in 12 more animals. If you look at the bottom of the udder, you see the udder, you can see there's a greenish, bluish tint. That's the disinfectant they spray just after they finish milking to stop for any infection in the end of the teats. There are two people that do the milking in here. Arthur, one of the Castine brothers here in the green shirt. He's out of uniform. He don't have the coveralls like Ken and I do, you know. You see, the harder worker ones wear these, right? He does all the milking, and he has a helper that they hired last September. You'll see him in a minute. His name is Brad McDonald. He's originally from Moore's Forks, and he's now living here on the La Valley Road on the way out toward Moore's. These are the animals coming in right now, and they automatically will fill in till there's a place for their head, and they kind of turn sideways, you'll note, right next to the milker. You see, the milker is right here ready to go, and so is that one. They'll just brush off the bag, and then they'll attach the milkers. The milk, when it leaves the cows, you'll see it come off in this little glass enclosure. Then it goes to the bottom and is siphoned up into this container.
That's where the milk is weighed, see?
Right, that you'll see on the side that there's a scale.
Wow.
You see there's a scale here, and it will tell you how much milk there is in each one, and you can either record it or you don't, and they do not usually record it. They know pretty well. They're cows. You can see here, Ken will show you how he's attaching the milking machine, the tit cups, to the udder. There are 4 of them. If he finds any extra, he's got a problem. And if he finds that he doesn't have 4, he's got the wrong animal in here. This is Brad McDonald right here. He's been here with the cast irons, and one of the few hired men they ever had. Bobby Tatro in the back has been here since he was 15 or 16 years old, and Brad started last September when they started the new operation in the new barn. And I asked him if I could take his job, and he said 2 things. Number 1, no, and number 2, he didn't think I could handle it. I've come out of retirement, Brad. I haven't done this since 1950, 51. But now you'll see they're going to remove. They're checking to see where they're done. They pull a lever here, and this goes up. I don't know if you saw that. And then the whole thing rises, and they drop right off by themselves. This is the lever they will pull right here, and that will release the operation. Now, you're going to show you, Art is pulling that. You see the thing go up, and then it will rise up to get away from the cows and drops right off. And then when they open the gate to let these 12 out, all of the milk that's in these containers automatically is brought into the milk room where it's first cooled, automatically fresh, ready to start the next one. So they don't have to release it. It's done automatically when the gate opens. And as we say here, you can see, well, these are just starting. If you look down in this teacup right here, the milk machine, you'll see the milk coming in from the 4 spots going to the bottom, and then it's being siphoned up into this black pipe right here that goes into the unit. And if Calvin will come this side, you can see the milk being discharged into the container. You see the milk running down the outside of that. And then it's automatically, by that gauge, will tell you how much milk is in there by weight. And that's automatically washed as they wash the milkers. That's all washed without ever opening up anything. And then the milk from here goes down into this stainless steel pipe, which is the milk. We thought when we first saw it the time before, it was going to go overhead like most of them, but this goes down along the bottom and goes into the milk room. I also like you to note this very nice rubberized carpeting, so to speak, with a lot of holes in it that keep your feet absolutely dry down here. I'm wearing rubbers for the barn, but I sure don't need them in here. This is as dry as a bone right there. It might be moist underneath because they wash this down afterward with a high-pressure hose to clean all of the area after every time the cows are finished, night and morning. Art told me they start milking here about 4 in the afternoon. They're milking about 350? Yeah, 350 or so, and it takes him about 3 hours. He starts in the morning about 5, and he's done about 8 o'clock. And Art is not one of the workers for the field. They each have their turn, as we mentioned before, their job. He takes care of the milking. He's in charge of the milking parlor. This is where the money is made. He makes all the money. This is the guy that spends it right here. Ken spends it. He makes it. And he also is in charge of the bedding of the cows, and they make sure the cows are well. If they're not well, to get a doctor for them. He makes sure that he keeps track of the breeding, keeps track of the new births, right? Make sure that the calf is put into the other stables after the calves are born. So he's the inside man. And you see the cows leaving now. And if you'll look this way, you'll see the cows that are down in the approach area.
The whole group is milking.
Yeah, this whole group of 12 on our left is milking. The what?
The cow that gives the last milk, the lower group.
Okay, this is the...
All in group.
Oh, this is the milking by groups, and these are the cows that will be drying up very shortly and give least milk of all the ones here. Now, you see, the udders on these cows are not as big as ones you'll see. This is getting a little bigger now.
No, these are all new milkers.
Oh, these are new milkers now?
These are the high group, better
Okay,
group.
we're getting into the better group of milkers now. You're going to probably get between, 45 and 55 pounds of milk? From this, your bigger group gives you about how much milk? For one milking? 45 to 55 pounds. These are all Holstein animals. They're black and the white if you're looking in the pasture. Remember, these cows never go out of the barn except last September when they moved from one barn to the other. And they're wiping off the udders here, and you can see them here as they attach the milking machine. And then they automatically, now this cow is waiting to come in. After the last one went in, the gate was closed. These are the exit gate, the open and close gates, and the entrance gates. All they do is throw the switch. Now you'll notice these animals here. This one here obviously is waiting to go to my right or her left. She probably goes that side generally. Cows are very docile. This cow here to my right has never seen me before, and she was just touching my hand. They're very docile cows. And they aren't using their approach gate. There's a gate. You see this big orange rolled up thing on the top? That will run the gate that kind of brings them up through. I don't know why they don't use it, but they're not using that. And with all these slots in the cement on the floor, it stops the animals from sliding around and falling down as they come into the area. We're looking up here now. This particular cow, if we look at this, is up to 22 pounds of milk right now.
Only half milk.
And he says about half milk at this time. These are, how old was this cow, would you say?
Older than cow, after 5, 6 years old. About 3.5, 4 years.
3.5. Now, the most amazing thing I heard yesterday, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to ask you to verify this. Arthur told me that if this cow or that cow or any of these cows, any one, and he wouldn't even know which one it is, got loose from his farm and went into a neighboring farm who could have, let's say, up to 200 animals, he could pick that cow out from all the others from a distance. He hasn't got to read any numbers, right? You could do that. And Ken tells me that when you can recognize them by the udders. They all have udders a little bit different, but they can tell these cows. They know them inside and out, or mostly out. Correct? But that's a startling thing to think that you've got 450, 500 animals in this barn, and if one got out and mixed up with another 200 someplace, you could pick it out from a distance. No question. And Ken said his dad was the same way. They could tell. They know their animals. And we know that you're enjoying this, but if you'll give me maybe a second here, we're going to take a short break. We're going to be leaving the milking parlor very shortly, but before we did, I wanted you to look up at the ceiling and see this big black 4-inch pipe that runs through here. That's the heating system that gives them nice heat here when they're in the wintertime and they're doing their work here. We used to love it when I used to have to walk maybe 300 or 400 feet to get from our house to our barn in the winter, and it was cold. And I used to love to get out there and sit under a cow and get my head next to the flank of the cow. It kind of warmed you up in the barn when we got there. But this is a big barn, and they don't keep it that warm. But in this warm area here, that heating system keeps it very good condition. Now, I don't know, do you have to replace these pipes very often? Does anything go wrong with these pipes?
No.
Have you replaced any yet?
No.
No, nothing's been replaced. They've been here since last September, and they said they've had no problems with the milking parlor. Although I understand this morning you got a surprise. You found some cows in your milking parlor that weren't supposed to be in here. They opened up one of the gates during the night. They had a bolt through it, and the cows like to use their tongue to lick on these things and licked the bolt counterclockwise and took the bolt off, and the gate opened, and they were up in here, and of course they made a lot of dirt on the outside because they were there, and they had to clean it all up before they could start their milking. That was the first time that's happened, and Ken said, "You hope it's the last." So does Art. Art said, "You don't need that." Okay, we'll be going then around the side, and now these cows are leaving again. So when we've been here, they have milked now 24, 36 cows since we've been down here. There were 12 that left there, they're milking again. 12 had left there, and this is the next 12. So 36 cows have been milked since you saw this, since we came into the milking parlor. And they've got, that's 10% of what they're going to milk tonight. So it's a long day. They're up and out here by 5. They start at 5. I think he gets up by the time I go to bed, right? And let me ask you a question. You mentioned that these things do come in for the smaller cows.
Yeah.
Have you had to use it? You do use it, huh?
When you get a first calf heifer.
Okay.
It brings it over.
Okay, so it brings the heifer over more, then she can't turn around in the stall. And when he mentioned the first calf heifer, for those of you who are not farmer, you people who are not farmers, means it's a bovine who's had a calf for the first time. They sometimes will call it a first calf heifer even after they have their second one. But they shouldn't, but they do. At least my father did. Okay, we're going to go to the other end of the barn now. Thanks very much. Thank you, Art, and thank you, Brad. They're bringing in some more animals now, as you see. Okay, Curly, what are you doing? Curly, what is this you're doing? That's that stuff that's going in there? Do you have to dilute it? Okay, so they're putting that spray, which is very expensive, by the way. What are those, $13 a unit or something like that? They're more than $13 a container. That's not like antifreeze. And then they're putting it out there. Billy's putting it into the sprayer, and he's mixing water with it. And then they're going to... Now, because Billy helps, they're going to let him bring all those home, see, so he can play with those tonight. Okay, that's, again, you're looking at the calf barn in the back. And we're going to be back there shortly, but you can see here that the operation, I don't know if Calvin can take a shot from here, and they see how nice and quiet the cow's in, and you got all this commotion going on. I'm a stranger, and George doesn't hear that much, so he's a stranger, and Calvin's a stranger, and Ken's quite a stranger here too. He's not in here that much, right?
A stranger.
You told me when the work starts, you go home and rest.
Right.
You told me that last time. You told all of us that last time.
Right.
We got very good reception on the last time you were on. The people really liked that program. They had no idea what you've got up here, and some have told me they'd like to come up and see it, and I told them you'd be glad to see them. Would you like to invite anybody? Tell them again.
That's a welcome anytime they want.
Okay, you start milking at 4 o'clock. If you want to see when there's not quite so much action, you come before 4 o'clock. Right. Come at 3:30 and you can look out there first, then you can watch them milk. And it's nice and clean, absolutely clean here.
Coming here with your suit on?
Yes, I have got my suit on, look. I got my work suit. Okay, we're going to head back to the barn. Okay. I suppose, Calvin, over here, you could get an idea. Yes.
When you got two different sizes, a small use this and a large use this.
These are the separators from section to section. And so you don't have to open the gate every time. And this pulls back, right, Ken?
Right.
And then this will open. They have this opening that isn't big enough for a cow to get through, but it's big enough for most of us cast-irons to get through, right? So we can climb through there. And if you can't, then you open the gate. Okay?
Or just tried to climb through one of them, didn't he?
Well, he made it part way. And over here, Ken was just pointing out that canvas that you see up overhead, that green canvas. That is dropped down after they fill that up with cows.
In the winter time.
Yeah, the approach to the milking parlor, because it's cooler, they want to keep the heat in there. That will drop down and keeps the heat in the other end because that is being heated. Otherwise, it'd be heating the whole barn, and you can't heat it because the cold air radical goes out the top, rises. So that will drop down. As I told you last night, this gate where that cow is heading right there was closed, but through some way. They opened it, and then they went in this area where they're going now, and there was nothing to stop them, and they made a mess in there. Of course, they didn't destroy anything, but they kind of dirtied things up quite a bit, and they're not supposed to do that. And so Ken is going to be here tonight around 6:30 talking to the cows and tell them not to do that anymore, right?
I'll give them a lesson now.
Okay.
I'll give them a speech, and I'll
You're going to give them a talk. Yesterday when I came in, you see this yellow container? That's the water. Where they drink the water, they don't each have a watering. That water is automatically kept filled with a float. And yesterday when I came in, the one on behind Calvin where the camera is, one cow was up with both feet in the container. And I think the cow was just warm and wanted to cool off, and she stayed there for about 5 minutes. I told Art about it, and he said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Well, look." And he said, "By gosh, she is." And they have a plug in the bottom of there. They can drain that out and make sure that it's kept good,
clean,
very clean. Now, there's one thing I wanted to ask Ken up here. Ken, you do close those feeder holes from time to time so they can't eat at certain times?
No.
So why?
Just in case if we got a problem with a cow, you know. See, if you got a problem with a cow and you get her in here, you can...
Oh, I see. So you
you
can...
can just push that over and you got her cow.
Okay, so it's not the idea of keeping them out. It's when they get in, you want to keep one there.
Yeah, right.
Oh, okay, like a stanchion.
See, now she got it.
Right.
See, if you want it, then now you can just hook that.
Okay. I'll say this. If you want to catch one cow a day, you got an awful lot of possibilities where she could go in any one of them. And, of course, that's extra expense, but still, it's part of the expense of operating this big Ridgeview Farms here on the Ridge Road. And I want to remind you, we're there, and this is Ken Castine. I'm Bob Venne with our program called What's Going On Here, and we were here.
The cows in 3 groups. We got 3 groups.
Okay, tell us about that.
The
So
lower group and the middle group and the high group.
now, where are they divided? This way one time?
If you want to come at this end, you'll see the gate.
Okay. Now, what about the dry ones? Are they kept at one end?
Out of where that end.
So those are the ones that are going to be freshening next, correct?
Right. See the cleaner going? Well,
Okay, you might want to see this, Calvin. That little like a reverse snowplow,
that's a nice
it's
job,
going from our right to our left, and it's going all the time.
Yep.
And it's just going very slow. And if there's a cow in the way, she has learned to step over it, and that's what keeps the barn clean. And then when it gets to the far wall to our left, it automatically comes back, and when it comes back, the 2 wings fold up
Right.
along the middle, and then it goes back to the end and starts over again.
Same thing we had in the other barn.
Okay, so it don't go around in a circle. It just goes back and forth, back and forth only. And you see how nice and clean. Of course, it's always going to be wet.
Nice job, though.
Absolutely, yes. It's you know, and you still got some, but there's no dirt. There's no dirt.
I
It's
think what we're going to do is put some rubber about that thick on that end, you know, to sweep it really clean, you know.
you mean put rubber on?
Under the, see under
Oh,
the
okay, yes. You're thinking of
some
then you could
hard
and then you
rubber.
could renew those, right?
Yeah, you could renew them.
Okay. What is this for? Right. Oh, this is a calf pen.
No, we got a couple, if we get a few cows, you know, we're going to freshen right off. We ain't got that much room for a fresh cow.
So you put them in here.
Put them in there.
Okay. Now this particular thing is one thing we were asking about when we were here over a year ago. This was open and it was down about 5 feet lower than this. And they said it would be available for a truck. They can come in here for any emergencies they want. They can feed by hand if they want. And it's a nice clean area. And then they've made these temporary stalls you just saw.
This is a drive through, you know, to feed and
Yep.
something should happen or a feeder. You
Now, the feeder, explain that to us here now.
see the feeder here works on a bell with got a kick off over there. See it
Okay,
kicks the feed off into the manger.
so how does the feed... Oh, I see. That that moves too.
Yeah, that moves toward the feed. See,
Okay.
as the feed moves, that sweeps it
Up here.
That sweeps it off the bell.
This unit right here will come along and sweeps it off. It's like got an angle to it, like a scraper, and it scrapes it off and it drops into the manger.
Right.
There's nothing in the mangers now.
That ain't been fed. Ain't a little bit there.
Okay, so this one here, you had a little accident here, Ken.
Well, that there, you know what he done now? They getting a calf out
Oh,
with the chain pole.
okay, you were giving birth. Okay.
They birthed the calf and we couldn't get it, you know.
Yep. The what we're talking about is sometimes the birth of a cow aren't always as easy as you've heard, and they have to use fall, block and tackle, and so forth, and they have to help the animal because the cow could die. And you get a breech birth, right? You get the wrong end first. A calf is born front feet with the head down in between the front feet like that, and once that shoulder clears the vagina, it's gone.
Yeah.
But if it's breached in any way, it becomes a big problem.
Go in and get the leg.
Right, because a leg will be backwards, just like a human could be. You know, you got a lot of problems. So this is a doctor. In addition to, they have to be here.
Yeah, you got to be a little bit of everything.
All right, Calvin is showing these animals here who have not been milked, and they're going up into that holding area, just to the right as you look at it, or beyond that green canvas you see, and they're going to herd all these animals up into there waiting to be milked, and as soon as they do, they'll let some more out, and then they will come into this section where these are now, right?
Right. After they're milked, we turn back to this section.
Right, then after this section is milked, they'll open up the other gate over there, and that other section on the far side will be milked.
Right. You can put 100 gallons in that holding area, maybe.
Oh,
more.
I didn't realize you could put that many. You got to realize that, you know, you can't always tell the cow from sight when it's been milked. They look an awful lot alike, particularly to me. I know you know them, Ken, but so these will all be driven up inside, and then they'll let the others out, and this is done each time.
Yep, I've got to do that each time you milk.
And the ones on the far side,
And they're already been done.
behind Calvin here,
That's a lower roof for cows.
when these came out, in other words, the group that are here now, they had closed this gate. If Calvin can swing over here, I'll show him here. This gate right here was swung over this way, and these cows couldn't come out. And then they came by and went right behind me and went into this section. When that was open, right.
And these were all driven in the holding area.
Okay, all right. And then when it...
After that, these gates were closed, and this one stayed open, and they all come back in here.
Any questions anybody have out there in TV land? We certainly hope you enjoy this, what we think will be our third and probably the final time, at least unless something big happens here, at the Ridgeview Farm, the cast iron operation. We have some thoughts about going to some other farms later on to see some different type of milking parlor operations. That's still in the future, and we'll get back to you on that. But if there's something you want to see out there, folks, don't forget to let us know. And remember that Hometown Cable is on every night at 5 p.m., 8 p.m., 1 a.m., and then 9 the next morning. So when you're eating your breakfast, if you eat breakfast late, you can watch Calvin till nearly noon. Hometown Cable on channel 21. There's the last group going into the holding area. Now when they come out, and then they're waiting there now, you'll note.
See, right there, they come back in
Now they're coming back in here. They have already milked. When that whole group in that holding area are finished, then they'll open this third group over here, right? And then that's the last. And then I think Art told me last night that they put the new sawdust down in the mangers here, in the bedding about once a week, every 6 days or whatever. And while the cows are out, you'll see Brad is going down and cleaning underneath them and all, anything that has to be cleaned, so that's nice and clean when they come in and want to lay down. The time you get a cow that's not dirty is because a cow doesn't go all the way up in her stall, and she lays half into the area. Then of course she will get dirty. And they've learned to walk so that they don't slide here. It is wet, but they've learned how to walk. They've learned how to. They spend a lot of time in there.
Well, I guess so. They spend their life in there. From there, they go to the slaughterhouse.
How often?
Both of them.
All right, say in a given year, how many animals would you get rid of, say, to the slaughterhouse?
Hard to
Any
say.
idea? Would you say 50?
50 volume.
That many?
60.
And then you get new ones coming up to take their place, right?
Yeah, we got that new group coming up. They'll
All
always
the-
replace them and all.
All the time. Now you'll remember when Calvin was here last April, a year ago, that's open above that top at the very peak, and all the heat and all the odor, everything goes right up and out, and makes a complete turnaround of air in here, and it does a very good job.
And in the winter, that closes on.
You do close it in the winter if you want to, right?
Yeah.
And how do you close it? Is that done automatically too?
Automatic.
Everything is automatic,
You can close it automatic.
except putting on these overalls. These coveralls was not automatic, believe me. There's a lot of buttons to put on here.
Takes quite a while just to get these on, man. Straighten out.
And I did it in the middle of the day, not in the morning at 5 o'clock. We're looking now in the section where they just had evacuated all the cows, and these are the cows that were being milked that we told you were going to come back. And you notice that there's feed in the manger now, so that they want to get back here, and so they get rid of their milk quick, so they can come back, and there's all the open space. If you look down, you can also see the barn cleaner coming back after having been cleaned on the way down, and when it gets back to our left, it'll come by and clean it again. So this may happen about, what, every half hour it makes a trip?
Oftener than that.
More than that, Ken says. Yeah. Whenever it gets back to this end, it goes back again.
It only stays to the end. If you about 4 or 5 seconds, 10 seconds maybe, and then it starts moving back and forth, you know. Yeah.
Yep. And remember, they don't care how much water gets in their fertilizer, we'll call it. because it's going to be all liquid when they put it onto the fields anyway. And if you look over here, I'm going to walk behind Calvin and look over this area. This is an area that the cows are not leaving at the present time. These cows are dry, they're not giving any milk, and they're waiting for birthing. They'll probably have a calf within the next 3 months. Okay, and they're just in here, and they're on vacation. They're on vacation, right?
On vacation.
Yep. They're drawing their unemployment check for they're on vacation, unemployment for the next 2 months, and then they're going to have their birth leave afterward, and then they'll be milking, of course, regularly. How long do you leave you don't leave the calves with them at all, right?
No. We take their milk though from the jug, you know, and feed them the first milk about 3-4 days.
But then they never see their calf again, really.
They never see it again.
Until it gets. So that's kind of that's kind of sad.
Yep. Because years ago, we used to leave them run right with the cows.
Right with the cows, right. And they stayed there. They slept down near them, and we kept them and tied them in front, you know. But now they immediately brought in. Well, this is big business now. It's
much work now.
It's a business, yeah.
Calf
well, when you're handling over 400 head of cattle, you can't have 400 little calves running around.
Right.
Of course, you'd never have 400 because they don't all freshen at the same time. Art did tell me you have cows freshening, having their calves all year round, right? Okay. So what you have is about a 10-month cycle, 9.5 to 10 months of good milking, right?
Yeah.
And then they try to dry them off in that 9th month, and they give them a couple months rest before they lactate again after the calf is born.
8 weeks.
Okay. Okay, Ken, if you come over here and tell us now, you did mention that these 4 or 5 sections don't get the same kind of feed,
Right.
correct? Let's start with the dry cows. What do you give them? I mean, what kind is theirs?
The dry cows get haylet or very little grain.
Haylet is what you call chopped up hay that goes in those nice harvester
right.
silos, right? And they don't give them much grain as such.
Don't get no grain, minerals.
You buy all your grain?
We buy 40% protein.
And then you mix it with some of your own things? I guess you told.
No, we don't. We use our own shell corn. See?
Okay, use your own corn, and you mix the grain when they give them grain. You mix that with the
haylage and the corn, all mixed together.
So that the cows who are what we call the better producers are getting the best feed.
They're getting more
grain.
More grain, more haylage, and.
Okay, now just before these cows that are going to freshen. Couple weeks before they freshen, you want to make sure they're getting some grain then, do you?
About 2-3 weeks before they freshen, we start giving them a little grain.
Okay, so what you're saying is that it costs less to feed this cow over here that's dry right now than it does these good milkers, because after all, they're returning milk to you right now and money.
Well, them the dry cows, if you give them a lot of grain, you're going to run into a lot of back problems. That's why you pull the grain away from them.
Okay, now here's the cow that just came back from being milked. Now she's going over to get some nice clean water, and that's very important that they get enough water, and they have free water at all times, and they come down here and get it, and then they go back, and they don't slurp it around very much, and she's getting content there, and that's giving you a nice clean milk. And what happens to your milk, by the way? What do you do? Where does your milk go?
Well, the Heinsberg cheese plant.
In Vermont.
In Vermont.
They don't make cheese with all of it, do they?
Yep, that plant, that's all they do is make cheese. Right now they're taking in 75 trailers a week.
Just for cheese?
Just for cheese, everything for cheese.
So your milk don't go at all for drinking is what I'm saying? Not at all. I'm surprised at that.
And they farmers around here,
that's the
sprayer.
The sprayer that we just saw mixed out in the back. Billy's going to spray, and that's very expensive. That's to kill the weeds in the field. Yep. You don't have to cultivate anymore. They don't cultivate like they used to between the rows of corn anymore.
Right.
How's the corn making out this year so far? Is it late?
Out pretty good.
You all right?
Ground been wet, huh?
Okay.
We done we tile the whole place.
I was just going to ask you about that. What about this tiling? What happened? What do? You put round plastic about 6 inches in diameter. We saw it.
With all these holes in there.
Yes, and they lay it underground. About how deep?
I think they've gone down about 4 feet.
Okay, and then it comes to a main. I understand it comes across.
To a main and then to a ditch.
So that the ground will never get too wet.
Never get too wet. That way we can get on the ground a lot earlier in the spring.
One of the questions Calvin and I had was, can it drain all the water out? What if it drains all the water? You're going to be too dry for your crop.
No, I don't think
it doesn't do that.
No, don't do that.
Okay, well I asked that.
It's down deep enough, the moisture.
So it's only I talked to somebody about that, and he told me that he understood that it only took the excessive water, the water that would bother you from getting on the field.
Getting on the field.
Okay, and that's an expensive proposition.
Because over the rover, that's what they do. The tile years ago, and they're on the field prices the first part of April.
Have you any idea how many feet they laid of pipe?
They lay thousands of feet.
Thousands, and that's an expensive proposition, right?
Yeah.
They were here. We were trying to get down there one day to take pictures of them laying it, and it was so wet that we couldn't get down there. And the helicopters in the area were all being used. Calvin was going to rent one, but we couldn't get one. It was, and I didn't have my uniform on like that day, so we just didn't do it that day. All right, Ken, behind us is one of the big silos, the harvester, where you get your haylage, right? This gate here, you might want to look down into here. Well, first of all, let me show you this right here. This is the cable right here that's just barely moving. You can see this turning, and that's what's bringing the barn cleaner paddles. It looks like they're bringing them back now, and then it will go in the other direction, right?
Right.
So it's rolling up right here. You can see it.
Side, Bob, what it's doing.
And it goes back over there.
Oh, yeah, it's coming back and going down. See, this way it's going down.
There's two different sections. Oh, I see.
Well, all in one sec. Yeah,
so when this one comes back, the other one's going down. Okay? So this is not really being rolled on here. It's just on there to come right off again.
Yep, right. It rolls on and off.
Okay. Is there a reason why you have so much sawdust next to that right there? Is that to keep the oil, or?
No, I don't know. How come this is here?
Maybe they can't. They don't want to sweep too close to it. Okay. We're getting into a darker area, but this is the mixer that mixes the grain and the and you can see all the tracks up here that go all directions.
Yeah.
Now, wasn't it one of these, a mixer, that caused the problem when your barn burned? Is that where the fire started?
No.
No, it wasn't. Okay.
Well, just put in a brand new one.
I know you had put in a new one. Maybe that's what's confusing me.
Yep. It wasn't the feeder. It wasn't the mixer.
All right, and here you'll see, again, that little motor, well, I say little, what is that, a 2 horsepower?
Big, yeah.
Doesn't look very big, but it's probably bigger than it looks. It's 1 horsepower with a good mechanical advantage, obviously, on that big drum that's pulling that paddle this way and sending it out, letting it go out that way. Is there another one at the other end? No, it doesn't.
No, this is just at this end. There must be one over there, the same thing.
Then what do you do? Just reverse it when you want to go back the other way? When it gets to the
automatic, it does it.
It automatically reverses. And these panels are all for your various your mixers and your. So from this little tiny wheel that's turning here to a bigger, to a smaller, and then the great big one is what's bringing this. And that must be an awful lot of weight to pull when they pull in that barn cleaner. Of course, it doesn't pull an awful lot because.
If something happens to a cow, you know what? Now if you get down in there, they'll stop.
It will stop. Is there any signal that would tell anybody in the house? No, it wouldn't. Oh, it just stops.
It just stops right there. If a cow fell down, if you had
of course, yeah. Well, yeah, it could keep it on dragging her to the other end. Of course. Like the garage door openers. If your car was there, when it comes down and it hits it, it will go back up. It'll stop. Okay. Okay, we'll go out this end of the barn and then see the back end. Okay, we're looking in at George Vaughn sitting in a rocking chair that belongs to Billy Castine. Billy sits in here in the wintertime when he's mixing the grain. That you can see there's some.
Oh, he's got his own heater in there. He's got a regular computer in there.
Yep, there's a heater, and he can operate all this machinery because it gets very cold out here. You're right out here is the outdoors. And that's only, this is not a warm area of the barn. The cows are all at the other end, and the heat all rises. So he starts operating these buttons. If Calvin will just go forward a little bit, these are the various buttons to run, and what he does is go into this little building that they built right here, and he stays in there. And it's a great idea. It's a great idea. We were laughing about it. But I see he doesn't sit on a straight chair. He rocks, right? He's rocking, yeah. And this is the drum that inside that mixes your haylage and your grain and your corn, right? All in one time in there. So when you have an unloader in the silo, you can help me with this. There's a paddle inside that goes around, right?
down here.
Oh, it's in the bottom. Okay, I beg your pardon.
They got loaves in the bottom, see?
Okay, I beg your pardon. And it comes out here.
Yep.
It falls on this conveyor
Yeah.
and goes up where then it drops
Goes
into.
into the mixer bowl.
Okay.
You know, it's mixed up with the other
Okay. And then something. Now that's one from the other silo, or is that?
stuff. Yeah, there's one man coming from another silo.
See, that comes up and that drops into there.
Yep.
And then they can also. In other words, you may have haylage that would have chopped up corn, and then you have another one with hay, and another one with some.
You got your haylage, and you got your minerals, and you got your
Silage. You got silage.
silage. You got your 40% protein.
And that's all done. That's another conveyor going. That's where it goes up when it's finished.
When it's finished, that's where it goes out. See, and it drops into the
Into your hopper.
hopper to the go to.
And then it goes into
out to the cow.
into the cow area. Right here on the Ridgeview Farm, we're here, and it's the 14th of June. It's a warm day, about 80 degrees. It's humid, but it's nice and cool in the barn, and the cows are probably more comfortable than we are. And here's some more of their grain buffer mix pack here.
These are minerals for livestock.
That's some.
Got some kind of a mineral, see?
I don't know if you can see. Can you put a little bit of that in my hand? I don't know if you can see that or not. It looks like cement or pellets, but that's the minerals
Central minerals.
for livestock.
Yeah.
And that's where it goes. And here are some extra belts that are lying around. There's a big one lined up over there, and some other parts. This is to be picked up later. They're still in the process. You know, they've only been in here, well, what? You've been in here 9 months, I guess.
Yeah.
But most of it's during the winter, so you can't do much of this stuff. So now they're going to be building another barn in the back, and then they'll be getting some of these dry cows out.
Out.
And how big will that be, Ken? You know how many you'll keep in that other barn? Any idea?
150, 175.
150. That'll be outside. If you people who watch the when the cows came into the barn, feels like it's raining, but if you see this wall up here, and if you heard Calvin last September, he was hoping that that wall would have been there. He was quite concerned that the cows were going to fall off the side when they were coming into the barn.
Oh, the railing was
There was no railing, and you could have fell right down here, about an 8 or 10 foot drop.
That was a big drop.
Calvin commented about it several times, and well, he should have.
Right.
But now they built the wall. They did that once the cows were in. Here you see 5 of the big harvester silos all lined up. And for you people who are not farmers, the haylage and the silage comes underneath here, and it's sucked up through this pipe up over, well, nearly 100 feet high.
Right.
There's an awful lot of vacuum in there, a lot of suction, and it goes up inside. This here is just it's a protector for the ladder. If anybody has to walk up to get up there to do anything, they don't want to be hanging on just with one hand, so they're kind of protected all around themselves.
It's Billy's job.
That's Billy. If I were going up there, I'd have belts, and every 3 feet I'd tie it again if I went up there. But look at the height as you look out to the far side. I mean, they're really, really high, and it takes a lot of vacuum. And then you have a tractor here that, well, how did that blown up?
Yeah, with
A tractor with a blower, right? That,
Tractor with a blower.
with a suction type?
No, regular blower.
Oh, it falls into the blower, and then,
Goes into the
okay.
blower and then up.
They automatically unload. As you look over here, you'll see harrows. The set of harrows here.
There's that drainage
Pardon?
pipe, drainage pipe.
Some of that drainage pipe we can see. Let's just take a break here while Calvin is walking if he wants to. I'm looking at some of this tile that Ken was mentioning. They buried thousands of feet of this, and you'll notice between the ridges are there so for strength, but between the ridges there are slits so that the water can either come in or out, so that the water will come in from all angles, and I don't know if you can see through it or not, but the water will be carried from here and be carried down to the, I think there's one that crosses from left to right, and it all drains into that, and that drains into another area. Then you have to pump it someplace, do you? Or just
Well, right now, when our pump is running into the ditch.
running into the ditch.
Running
right?
into a deep ditch.
Okay, and you can see here, this is the way it comes in great big rolls, but this is a roll here, and it comes in wrapped in this cloth, but they're big long lengths of this. This is a big harrow here that both sides fold down, and it does, what, 20 feet across?
Oh, it must be all of that.
And, you know, I look at these harrows and I shudder because when I was 7 years old, I lived on the La Valley Road between this corner up here and Moore's. And when I was 7 years old, I was riding on a hay wagon, and I jumped off the hay wagon because I saw my Uncle Victor Castine coming, and I fell backwards. My father was dragging the harrows behind, and this harrows ran over my head and opened my whole side of my head up. But obviously, they were nothing like this. They were the kind they used to use that horses worked on, or I'd be dead. I mean, this is an awful heavy thing here. This is all solid here, and then they work on springs. They're going up, and this is to chop up the ground, and they drag it at the same time. It's a combination.
Stone at the same time.
Pulls the stones out. You still pick stones in the field?
Well, of course, I got them over there picking.
Oh, okay.
See them, Calvin, picking?
So they're picking right now.
Oh, yeah, they've been picking stones now for quite a long while. On account of all this field work and moving walls and stuff, the stone is unlimited.
I told you at home, if you ever want some grass, you can come cut my grass at home and have it. And if you want any
That's what I was telling you.
If you want any stones, you can come get any stones I got too. You don't have to pick your own here. But we're looking back into the new building. We're going to go back in there now. And as we look at it from a distance, this will be for the machinery and maybe some extra hay storage.
Bale hay.
Bale hay for the younger animals?
Yep.
And that building is, I just confirmed it, 160 feet and 66 feet deep. And it's 160 feet across. And we're going to look at it inside and show you how big a building like that is when you look at it from that angle. So here we are with Ken Castine, Bob Venne, and George Vaughn from New York City. And George, have you taken this tour like this before?
No, I haven't.
Well, are you
It's the
impressed?
first time in with the new barn.
Good. Are you impressed?
Yes, I am.
Good. I don't know it all, but I've been here a couple of times, and it's a tremendous operation. Have you ever been on any other farm besides here?
No.
You have to go to another farm to see the magnitude of this farm and how much different it is. We'll take a break. Well, we're inside of the what will be some hay storage and storage for the machinery. Calvin was just mentioning as we walked over, they were building this winter, Ken, when it was up maybe as much as 20 below zero.
Right.
They were out here, and boy, I mean, God bless them. But Ken, what did you tell me as we walked in about my coming here? Why are you glad?
Because I've never been in here before.
He's never been in this barn before, the manager of the farm. But they all have their own jobs, all right?
Yep, right.
His job is to get home as soon as possible and get in the rocking chair.
Right.
Because Billy won't let him use the rocking chair that's here, all right? As you look down, you can see the size of this building, all right? And if Calvin will, or here, can you hold this a minute? I'll give you an idea of the size of this machine. Now here's a pretty good sized person, and you can get an idea.
That's the shell or that?
This shells the corn.
Yep.
And the rest of it stays in the field?
The rest stays in the field.
And there's that's your hay, that's a hay.
That's a hay barn.
Hay barn there. And
Then you got them in all spread in the two wagons.
you don't use this really, do you? Because you're using mostly liquid now, right?
Liquid.
That's got 4 tires on that one.
And they use the outgo, the other farm.
Okay, now this is the wagon where you pail or pick it up, throws them in here. They're not corded in here like they used to when I was on the farm. They just throw them in here. And there's one of their smaller tractors, right? One of your smaller tractors. And then this is what? That's
another thing that unloads into this.
okay, so that runs along the side of this as this is operating.
No, and that's the whole, gets this tank full. See, you just dump it in the
Okay.
wagon.
It just dumps right over.
Yeah, you dump it from there back into this, and then when you get to your tire, you just leave this down.
Right? Okay. This must be close to 16 to 18, maybe close to 20 feet up to those 2x10s you see up overhead. And you can see all of these trusses were built somewhere else and brought here. And they're all put together, and they have this patched metal on the sides. Martin Builders, one who did all your work here. And they're not done yet. They're going to build this other barn. We're going to show you outside what it looks like. And Ken, any estimate as to what a machine like that is the asking price is?
I don't know, 125, 30,000.
That's this right here, folks. We're talking 125, and that's only used in the fall to get the corn. And then for 9 or 10 or 10 and a half months, it's sitting here doing nothing, correct?
Yeah,
Absolutely nothing. But you have to have it. It cuts the corn in the front. It cuts the corn stalks, does 4 or 5 rows at one time.
6 rows, I think.
6. And then it takes the corn, as it goes through, it takes the corn.
Just the kernels, huh? Takes just the kernel off the cob.
Well, don't the cob go up somewhere inside, and then the cob, the kernel is taken off, then it throws the cob out separate?
No, it just grabs the kernel, I think, this machine.
How can it just grab the kernels off an ear of corn in the field? It might.
So we always done that.
Yeah, but I thought that if
But I think now we're gone, they take the whole cob now.
Okay, here's where...
Because we used to take just the kernel.
This is the the front end of this machine right here. And the rows obviously are all equidistant apart, and as they come up through, they cut the stock, and then somewhere along here the cob is taken off, the rest of it goes underneath, back onto the ground to be used as fertilizer, and that's the driver. This is self-contained. There's nothing pulls this unit. It's a self-contained, and I'll bet you Billy drives this.
Curly drives that.
Curly, because Billy likes these soft chairs, I noticed inside.
Well, his job is the other.
That's the other one, huh?
To the silo.
Okay, and in behind this haylage, also self-contained. You do not need any tractor. You drive it from inside this heated, air-conditioned radio, right?
I guess so. They got
No refrigerator. No
No
refrigerator.
refrigerator.
That's all. The big unit, and there's a blower here.
There's a blower. Wow.
This is where you dump off your corn or your haylage, and the big circular paddles inside of that big drum that the whirling of it throws this corn, believe it or not, throws it up 125 feet. There's one.
I think it goes in here first, so this here breaks them up. The kernels and all
Okay.
open them up so they don't go right through.
In here, okay. Then it goes in there,
Yep. Oh, I think they just use this, I think.
and that blows it up too?
Yep, I think that ball's will blow
Okay,
it up.
this is
It's
the...
run by the tractor.
Okay, that's the power takeoff on a
Oh,
tractor.
oh.
Here is the the paddles are here, and these paddles are going tremendous speed, and it's like if you were taking a rope with a weight on the end, and you start going around like this with it, and then let it go. It just goes up high, and that's what this does, but it's setting up the corn. But remember, when it sends up, there's some more coming right behind it.
Steady stream.
Steady stream, and let me tell you this, that when it's in that silo, it's really coming in. Okay?
Yeah, this is something we had to go through in the last 4 or 5 years, you know.
That's Badger equipment. That's a new
Oh,
type of
this is,
operation.
You know, it kind of breaks up the kernel. The other way, the whole kernel goes right through the cow.
Oh, okay, yes, right, because corn is hard to digest.
Yep, right.
This folds down and goes into your power takeoff, and that's what runs the whole machine. All run by air, too. And there, if you look at a view of the far end, you can see the big covered wagons way at the far end.
Haylage. See them up for haylage.
Yeah. Tremendous, tremendous. They'll never cement in here. This is going to be the way it is, right?
Yeah, we're going to leave it like this. All right.
Right. So you intend to stack up some hay bales in here?
Yeah,
Someplace, right?
We can't get it all in the silo, and the rest will be put in the bales and maybe put in here.
My father used to say there's 2 things you got to do with your equipment. Number 1 is keep it out of the weather.
Right.
Number 2, make sure you grease it and oil it, right? That's what keeps it going.
Very true. Too expensive to leave it drag all over.
Very expensive. We're going to go outside and look at where the cow barn for the dry cows will be, and we'll go into the calf stall. And thanks very much for watching Hometown Cable. It's on every night, you know. And don't forget, Calvin's looking for patrons for Hometown Cable, and he's asking for a very easy $1 a month donation to keep these kind of programs coming to you, because the costs have just got very high, and he's finding it difficult with just the advertisers. So if you find it within that you enjoy these, send a check to $12 to Hometown Cable. You'll see it somewhere else in our program, but that's all I'm going to mention about it. But you'll note my name is there, and I'm a hometown lover, and I like it. And we started doing these programs, and I hope you enjoyed them. And if you do, tell Calvin, tell me. As a matter of fact, write to George Bush and tell him if you want. Okay, we're standing just outside of the big fertilizer tank where all of the manure from inside and all of the water and the liquids and the residue from washing the milkers, the tanks, and all of that comes out into this big unit you'll see behind. This is the brand new. Ken, we came around, believe it or not, said, "What is this?" He hasn't seen this yet. This contract was let to the Morton Builders, and there's an awful lot of building going on. And if you look down in this pit here, you'll see a big motor that takes the liquid out from the tank, and then you see another centrifugal down. Yep, you see that centrifugal down there. You don't have to mix any grain in here, Ken. This don't cost you much, just electricity. And then it shoves it up this gray pipe and goes all the way up to the ceiling. And note the fan, too, if you will. And then it goes out to the other side of this building. We'll show you outside. Exactly. Now here you'll see to my right across, the big lights are in here, panels are in here, cement bottom. There's a heater right here, electric heater. Because you can't allow to have this freeze in the wintertime. You'd have problems. And I don't know if that much they spread in the winter. They'll spread some in the winter, though, probably. Or in the spring. And there's an overhead door that comes down. And as Ken just mentioned, you know, if you come out of here at night, and if there's not a light, there should be a light here or something, Ken. You could.
Got one right behind you.
Okay.
Put up, I guess.
Okay, because there should be a light out here, so you'd know that you're not going to fall. Unless it's left open. At least it is now. Put it that way. Maybe they've been drawing. And
they've been drawing. See what they
this is where that comes out, and that's where they load.
See, that's where it's pumped into the silos. See, Bob?
Okay, that's another one up here. Calvin can come a little further. There's a light on the tank up there. The one you see going over the top is
that's a mixer.
It's when the sewage comes from the barn and goes up and then it's put into the top of the tank, and then it's agitated in there, right? It's agitated all the time to keep it in a liquid state, and then this is where they load into their tank and they go out and they spray it in the fields. There's a spray right there. This is the big tank right here, and that.
Another system over there you can load in there too.
Okay, that's from your other barn.
And that's also piped into this tank somewhere too.
Okay, to give you a perspective, if Calvin will go over to the left, you see those 5 big silos we saw from the other side where we saw the pipes that go to the top. We were on the other side of there, and that's where we saw the drags and the I forgot what I call them now. The wheel harrows. And then the old barn, the old loafing barn used to be right along between here and those silos, just beyond this water pit here. And that was torn down once they moved the cows into the new place last September. And then this is the former milking parlor. And right behind us here is the calf barn. And the next process here is to build a barn from here or from there over to the silos, which would be for the 150 to 175 dry cows and cows that aren't milking, so they don't take the space in the big barn. You could probably put more milkers in, right? Okay, then you may not tear this down then, right?
No, we're going to preserve.
You will extend it beyond it.
Yep.
Okay. And this is the cement work, and this is a barn cleaner, as we saw before. This is a miniature barn cleaner for the yearlings, and the maybe 6 months to a year and a half old are in this. This barn you'll see divided in 2 sections. This section here to the east is a loafing barn for the young ones, and on the other side are small, very small. This is a new door stop that they have. This is something brand new. This is a cast iron invention right here. My father used to have one of those.
Did
Yes, he did the same thing. So now we're into what was the old milking parlor area, right?
Oh, that's the old milk house.
I'm sorry, not milking parlor, the milk house, I meant to say. And that's the door that went. It's a milking parlor. Okay. And then we were here last fall. The tank was right here last year, right? This is where the tank was when you saw it the last time, right in this room, right here. And this here is just something that they found on the side of the road. And they kind of put it up. They thought it was pretty. They wouldn't have anything to do with Jack Daniels. Okay, over here, as we come into this barn, and this is noisier now, this is the free stalls on each side for the young animals. Now this calf here is probably 4 months old. 6 months? Not that old. And you see the other side, they're kept by sizes here. And you notice how they love to come over and see us. And love to get my finger. You see, they love my fingers.
Wow. Got a couple hundred head out over than all.
You do have? Another 200 that are young. And you'll see another feeding trough up on top that works the same way. Again, the ceiling is open for ventilation. Brand new barn. And on this side, young animals have a tendency to lick each other's ears and suck on the ears and bother each other, so they have individual pens for the newborn calves. They may stay here till what, 2 months old, then they put them in here, or 3 months old maybe?
3, 4 months.
Okay, and then they put their feed. See, there's some hay we mentioned before. The hay is put in here. They can eat off from. They have a bucket on the far side. They can give them milk or water or grain if they want. They probably don't grain many calves.
No, they get grain.
They do. Now here's the old-fashioned barn cleaner. The paddles. These open so they can clean it out and put new. All right. Closes nice. Remember, Bob Tatro from Champlain has been here for probably the better part of 20 years working. His job is this barn, right?
Yep.
This is his responsibility. And on the okay, now when you had the fire, Ken, you lost a lot of young animals, right?
Right.
You remember how many? 50,
50,
60, I thought I remembered that many, huh?
60, 70, well, we lost all the pens.
That was the part that you lost completely. You lost a few calves, but not many. There's
50, 60 calves and pens.
there's some calves over there that are probably only a week or 2 weeks old.
Oh, that ain't very old.
Very small, see? And again, they don't bite. Remember, a cow does not have any top teeth. Just the bottom. There's no teeth on the top, see? And when I tell you that I lost this finger right here because a cow bit it off, it's pretty impossible because they don't have any top teeth. But most people don't know that, right, Ken?
Is that what happened?
Yeah, cow bit it off. Tomorrow I'll have a different story. And you see the cows here, these are a little bit different. Nice and quiet, gentle calves. There's some heat up there for these animals. If it gets in the wintertime, they don't generate as much heat as a full-size cow does. The animals generate their own heat to heat the barn, but little ones like this don't generate as much.
Right.
So they have 2 buckets, one for water. See, they love to, they still know how to nurse, see?
Yep.
Although they haven't, they never got a chance to nurse because their mother was taken away from them when they were very, very young.
Still do that.
Oh, yes. Oh, they don't get out of that. And we're getting into where you see more now. This is where the animals are.
Bob, I think we just moved out of here.
These here? You see? They still haven't forgotten. Look, this animal here is 6 months old. And very nice. Very, very nice.
Good shape.
Yep. And then now another thing, Ken, we're talking about breeding. You don't breed necessarily by age. You breed by size.
Yeah.
When they get to be maybe 1,000.
Breed by age.
You do breed by age. Some people breed when they get to be 1,000 pounds, regardless of how old they are. Some grow faster than others. The Holsteins, at the same age, are bigger animals than the Ayrshire, the Jersey, or the Guernseys. They're a bigger animal.
Yeah, right.
And they give more milk, but the milk doesn't have as much butter fat as some of the others. But they make up for it in the amount of milk that they give. And I'm just about running out of all I know about cows, unless you ask me questions.
We had a few come in, not that big, you know, but they grow and they milk at the same time, you know. They ain't up in weight.
I was talking when the camera was off, and Ken said he's enjoying this trip too. He's seen several things he didn't know he had, and this is the first time that George has had a chance to come around the new section. He's been to the barns before. He sees it from outside, but you just don't realize how much is behind that main barn, right, George?
That's correct.
Are you ready to come to work here?
Yeah.
You got to get up before 5 in the morning.
No.
That's when Ken kicks me out.
If he makes it, gets us some money at the stock market, then he can come over.
Okay, well, you make your money at the stock market and then come here, right? Okay, we're just about finished here. We're going to look at the end. We got something going on down here. I guess there's another section back here, right, Ken?
Yeah, you know, for dry cows.
You put dry cows in here. Okay. And here they're feeding some hay that's in the...
See, the window was short of space, huh? So we had to put all through that full of calves.
You got a brand new barn, a new calf barn, and they're still short of space, right? You'll never have enough. And that's why they want to build a new one at the other end. But as Ken said, it's getting kind of expensive. There's a lot of money going in these operations. He hates to even think of how much, but you've got to have it to operate. And this is why, as we mentioned at the Bullrich Farm, it's very difficult today. A small farmer can't afford to have this type of an operation where he has a separate barn for his young animals. Here's some of the feed you can see here. These are pellets.
Yeah, that's the calf feed.
Okay. They have all of the nutrition and the minerals, and someone is eating my pants in the back here. See, he's eating my pants back here. They ought to feed their animals here. Hi, little bossy. Hi, little bossy. Okay, we're just going to step outside this door again to show you. Maybe Bob Tatro would like to talk to us a couple of minutes. Well, we'll let him just take a break first. We'll take a break and come right back to you. We'll just take a break and come right back. Well, we've been here for over an hour and a half maybe, at the cast iron farm, and we want to thank Ken very much for letting us come here again, Ken. But before we close, I wish you'd explain. We've been trying to get the members of the family to come out here, but they're all busy doing their thing, and some are in the field, and I'd like to ask Ken just what their things are. In other words, we know that Art does the milking, and he takes care of the inside the barn, mainly, right? That brother. And let's take Billy. What is Billy's main job?
Billy's main job is feeding the cows and working in the field, him and Curly.
They both do that.
They both do field work, plus taking care of feeding the cows.
Okay. And then your other brothers that are here?
Well, there's Harold Johns on the other farm, the Oxbow.
Okay, so they don't come to this farm much at all.
They don't come to this farm at all.
But that's part of the operation, the Oxbow farm. I'm getting you apart in the wrong way. It's that way, isn't it?
Yep, it's all incorporated
together. Okay,
together.
so they're all incorporated together. So they don't really physically are here. So physically here, there's the three boys.
Yep.
Carol in the house. Carol does all the housework, and she feeds, right?
She has the books.
Okay. How many of the boys? She writes it, pays all the bills?
Yep.
How many of the boys are not married? Any of them? Are they all married?
Two.
Who's not married?
Arthur's not married, Curly is not married, and my sister.
Okay, they live here at the house? The three of you live right here, right? So they're next to the refrigerator here on the farm all the time?
Right.
That's handy.
Yep, that's a mistake they made. They're staying in the refrigerator.
Okay, then we have Bob, who works with the young animals, and he'd rather not be on TV. We asked him, but he said he'd rather not be on TV. He wasn't dressed for it. He wasn't prepared. And then we have Brad McDonald, who works in with Art milking.
Yeah, right.
Is there anybody else who works for you on a regular basis?
No, we just have some help picking stones and all stuff like that.
You are doing that now?
Yep, right.
Had you ever thought of maybe hiring a guy named George Vaughn to come up here more often and put him to work?
Yep.
Huh?
To get him, put him milking cows.
Yes, I mean, he enjoyed this trip today, and maybe he'll want to come right here to work.
Yeah, once he saw the operation, maybe he'll think.
I'm sure. Well, now we've got everything swept up, and everything's been forked up,
Right.
and we're ready to close off this section. We want to thank you people out there for watching us here on Hometown Cable. Remember, this is on every 5 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock, 1 o'clock a.m., and 9 the following morning. And I want to thank you for making your comments to me about some of the programs you've seen that you liked. No one said they saw anything that they don't like. If you don't like something, tell me that too. We can't change it, but we would we'll look for a future. We've got some other things planned in the future. We're trying to get to the horse farm next to the new farm, the old Sunny Hill Dairy we're talking with, where we got to get in with Dr. Southwick. We want to meet at the Midway with the man there. We're talking about the Shazy Hardware with one of their Saturday programs they have that teach us how to install siding, roofing, make picnic tables. We're talking about the Champlain Laundry. We're talking about Giroux's Poultry. We're talking about a lot of these things, and if you see something that you'd like us to cover, let us know.
Orchard.
Shazy Orchard we've got. That'll be on July 8th. This is going to be on after July 8th. By the time they see you and I, that will be sometime in July. So we can't talk about the orchards. They've already seen it. Okay? I make that mistake often, and they've already seen it. So here at 6:20 on my clock, my watch on my arm, on the 14th of June, on a Thursday night. I want to thank Ken again and the Ridgeview Farm Incorporated and George. George, I want to thank you also for getting in this picture and taking the tour with us. And I want to thank Calvin for running the camera. And don't forget, if you want to be a patron and see your name on TV, send a donation to Calvin to keep these hometown programs on the air.
That's what you gotta do, boy.
Hi out there. This is what's going on here. Bob Venne, your host, asking you to tune in this July 1st. It's coming Sunday. We're going to repeat the two shows we've had before, the the trip through the cast iron farm with Ken in April of 1989, and then the showing that Calvin did. Hello everybody, Bob Venne with What's Going On Here. We want to tell you about a program coming up this July 1st. That's this coming Sunday. It's going to be a repeat of the Ridgeview Farm with Ken Castine that was shown last April in 1989. We're going to show it again because of popular demand by you people out there. And I'm going to be busy at Rouse's Point at the 4th of July that in the evening. So if you're home, remember it's on at 5, it's on at 8, it's on at 1 in the morning and 9 the following day. So you'll have a chance to see it and tune in. You'll enjoy it. You'll see what your neighbors have been talking about for the past year. Right?
And stay up all night, about.
Hello everybody on Hometown Cable. Bob Venne, your host with What's Going On Here. Be sure to watch this coming Sunday night, July 1st, for a repeat of the tour we had in April of 1989 with Ken Castine and myself and Calvin on the Ridgeview Farm just before it went into operation. And then we're making a repeat this time because on July 1st, people will be going to the parade. We don't want to do anything special that night, so we're going to do something that's been on before. You'll be able to chance to watch it either 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, and 9 the next morning. So of those 4 showings, you're going to get a chance to see it over again. Tell your neighbors about it, and then, by the way, in 2 weeks from the 1st, the 15th, we're going to have a brand new show of the Ridgeview Farm. We've just finished it here tonight. We were here for an hour and a half looking at the cows, the milking operation. We just got finished sweeping, and he's been forking the hay and feeding the animals, and we've had a busy time, and that's why I've got my uniform on. So tune in both the first coming up this coming Sunday, and then 2 weeks from now, watch the rest of it. I should have it.
Oh, you should have that. You
Yeah.
need a room.
Well, Hometown Cable has been cleaning up tonight. I've had the broom and Ken's had the fork. And we want you to tune in this coming Sunday night, the 15th of July, for a follow-up to the Ridgeview Farm. If you remember, we did one here a year and a half ago, back in April 1989, which you saw on the 1st of July. This is a follow-up to that. All the animals are in the barn. We toured all the buildings around, and I even got into uniform like Ken. I'm right at home here. I had forgot how to do this, Ken. But watch Hometown Cable every night, and particularly this coming Sunday night at 5 and 8 p.m., 1 a.m. in the morning, and 9 a.m. the following morning. Tell your neighbors and friends that this is coming on. They enjoyed the first show. I think they'll like this one too. Right?
Right.
Right.
From time to time, when we have a shorter version of What's Going On Here, we're going to dig back into our files and pull out one of the What's Going On Here classics. In this case, we have the very first program with Bob Venne doing his What's Going On Here tour, and it happened to be 4 years ago this week, the Ridgeview Farm Tour #1. Stay tuned for What's Going On Here classic with Bob Venne.